Welcome back to the DFS Sweatshop. I am your host, the DFS Jerusalem, and you can follow me, of course, on Twitter at DFS Jerusalem. Man, really nice slate of games we saw last night. We had an 8-game slate on DraftKings, but it was chopped. We had it cut down to 6 in the main, and also had, of course, those 2 later games. Really good games, man. I kind of wish those later games were a part of the DraftKings main, but that was the case over on FanDuel. Had some very solid performances here in the sweatshop. Did pretty good myself. Didn't lose, made a little bit back on my buy-in. Had a couple of lineups that I really did like going in, man. So anytime you can come away with a profit this late in the season, right before the playoffs start, heading into baseball, you are doing the right thing. Let's go ahead and jump into our regular formatting of the show. First thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and jump because I gotta tell you, I just got back. I stepped away for a moment, ran over to the homie Gundacker, man. Did a live stream with him. Really solid cat, man. Check him out. If you haven't checked him out yet, man, go over to Gundacker Sports, man. Really solid YouTube page. A guy that I followed before, one of my inspirations to get this deep into this thing, man, and do it. So anytime I get to chop it up with him, it's a great time. Had a nice time over there. Go ahead and check that out. Let's go ahead and jump into the feature 4 players of the night. These are the 4 most talked about, tweeted about guys in the DFS Sweatshop, in the Facebook VIP, and as well as on Twitter. First guy we're going to talk about is the Who Dat, scoring all them points over there, play tonight. This can only go to one guy, man. We're talking about Timothy Loau Cabaret. Excellent game from him at 7% ownership. 37.25 DraftKings points is what he brought back. He was only 3.4K, so that was good for much better than 10X. Very solid game we saw from him, and you kind of saw that coming. I saw a lot of the cats were on Justin Anderson, who had a very decent game as well. He was coming up in a lot of my models, Justin Anderson was. But my decision, man, after chopping it up with some cats in the shop, I really decided that Timothy was going to be the way I was going to go. Started off very slow. I was kind of regretting it earlier in the first quarter, but then as the game went on, man, dude just went ham. This got hot, kept playing very well, and that's why tonight you, Mr. TLC, are tonight's Who Dat, scoring all them points over there, player of the night. The next guy I'm going to talk about is the How Did I Miss That Play? And I did have some exposure on FanDuel. I had 0 exposure to this guy on DraftKings, and we're talking about Paul George at 15% ownership. 8.4K was the price point. He went out and brought back 58.25 DraftKings points. A big, awesome, excellent game we saw from Paul George, man. And this dude is playing on another level right now. I mean, I'm just inclined or tempted to just ride the hot hand when it comes to this cat, man, because he is balling, man. He is balling, having a very solid close to the season. And this team is playing for something. He is playing for something. They're trying to, lock down that 5th seed, or even possibly move up to a 4th seed in the NBA playoff race in the Eastern Conference, man. This dude is really, really playing very, very well. Next guy I'm going to talk about is the heat check play tonight. This doesn't have to go to the guy that scores the most points. It does not have to go to the guy that is the highest in salary. But tonight it goes out to the guy that above all else just went and fucking balled. And I'm telling you, some narratives are fucking real. And you could tell the way that Nurkic was playing this game, how active he was in the post. When usually you see him a lot of the times around the elbow trying to, facilitate the offense with a nice pass or maybe setting a high pick and then rolling. This dude just got the ball and went to the basket. It's like he was used to playing against these guys. It kind of looks like Isaiah Thomas was talking about this on the NBA show. It looked like he had been able to play well against these guys in practice. Like he was like a dominant player in their practices, but it just couldn't translate, to him seeing those starters minutes, so the team got rid of him, and he wanted to show them, man, that they made a bad mistake, and it looked like it tonight, man. 38% ownership. This game was only a part of that 2-game late on DraftKings, but it was a part of the all-day slate on FanDuel. I hope you just locked them into your center spots, because this dude went nuts. 7.4K, 62 DraftKings points. Put up another career high in scoring. Excellent game we saw from you, Yusuf Nurkic, and that's why tonight you are the heat check play of the night. Awesome game we saw from Yusuf Nurkic. And now we got to talk about you. That one motherfucker. Bro, you went out and fucked up all the lineups. 10% on a DraftKings main slate. So you were definitely in position So we're gonna take every angle possible to make sure you know that tonight, you, Nick, Mr. Batum, you a motherfucking snowflake with your snowflake ass, and I ain't gonna roster your bitch ass again. How do you go up? 7K, 10% on a 6-game slate. You're in position. You go out and you bring back a punk ass measly 15.5 DraftKings points. No, hell no, man. That I mean, you ran off on the motherfucking plug. You ran off on the plug. And tonight, you's a motherfucking snowflake with your snowflake ass, and I ain't gonna roster your bitch ass again. Tonight. But the next time you're in a juicy matchup, I like the way you look. I like what's going on. The DVP is rocking. It's in your favor. I'm gonna give you another shot. You play real close to my boy Kimba, so I can't just cut you all the way off because you're a part of his game. But you're skating on thin ice. Get your shit together. That's right. Get your shit together. Now, let's go ahead and jump into my very best DraftKings lineup. Do this for a couple of reasons, man. Just show you the guys that are in my player pool or the guys that I'm playing, man. If I say I like a guy, that's going to be the guys that I'm playing. Now, my very best DraftKings lineup, surprisingly enough, came from making a line in the turbo and throwing that bitch in the main. I tell y'all to do that every show. I always make sure you know one of the best ways to maximize on a smaller, tighter player pool. If you're having that issue where you're changing up stuff and you're getting exposure to too many games, your lineups are all spread all over the place, make some lineups in the smaller slates that come from the large slate and throw them bitches in the main. That's what I always talk to you about. So let's go ahead and check it out. Now, this is my very best DraftKings lineup. I had this lineup created in the main slate. That's why you're not going to see any of the guys from I think the 7 o'clock game is going to be in here. This is just strictly from the turbo. Of course, TJ McConnell, a core forward player, a guy that I really liked. Kind of chose Lou Williams over Eric Gordon because we knew that Gordon was going to be starting without Ryan Anderson in the fold, so I like that right there. Justin Anderson, like I said earlier, he had been popping up in a lot of models. I got him in the lineup. Draymond Green was a player that I definitely want to take advantage of as far as that Houston and Golden State game. He kind of underperformed, didn't get where I wanted him to go, but 41.75, that's not too bad. Brook Lopez had a monster night. 51 DraftKings points was in store for him. Pretty solid game we saw from Ish Smith. Knew he was going to be the chalk. A lot of guys were going to be on him. A guy that I kind of went away. I thought I was going away from the field in the roster in Robert Covington. Very solid game there. 48.25 DraftKings points. Excellent game we saw from him. And Steph Curry at 59 DraftKings points rounded out this lineup. It finished at 309.5 DraftKings points. Easily my very best DraftKings score on the evening. Now, like I said, pretty good night in the sweatshop. I had a lot of folks get to the money, have some solid evenings. Just going to take some time out to shout out these guys, man. Number one, Blaine Breyer, man. Awesome game. Awesome score for him tonight. He says, Gordon snowflaked on him, or you would have finished in the top 10. He's been on fire for the past week, repping the shop. Hope everyone's having a profitable night. That's good for 86th place. That 328.75, very solid score there. You see the logo popping. That's BB Destroy 21. Shout out to you, big homie. Very solid night we saw from you in the shop. Next, we're talking about the homie Jay Guns, man. It's always good to see one of the day one vets have a really solid night out. The sweat is real. Could have been his best line was in a single entry instead of this the $2 to $3 contest. He had a very solid night out. We're talking about. Let's check that out. Check that buy-in out, man. Really solid one there for Jay Guns, man. Good dude too. Good love to see him win. Looked like a $45 buy-in. Took home $9.42. Very solid there. Next, we're talking about the homie Vino Rosso, the big homie. Good lineup here. Really solid lineup we saw from him. Started with Steph Curry. You've got Sauce in there. Cabarrero was a player that we all liked in the shop. So it was a pretty solid evening, man. Really solid evening. Glad of that. Next guy we're talking about, the big homie Rudy Herta. Check it out. Now, Rudy, man, has done a lot of great work in the sweatshop lately, man. And Duke went straight to it. PayPal for the tip. He went straight to it. Awesome night for him. Put in 30, took out 300. Really nice one for James Bryan Roberson, man. Shout out to you, bro. Good night you had there. We've got, oh man, this is what I like to see. This is when your core is popping, bro. This is what happens when your core is popping. That's what you want right there. And that's what you want right there. 320, 313, 306. So the sweatshop was live tonight, man. We had some very solid stuff. One of the homies right here, Kunal, man.
Thanks, Rudy Hurt, to almost hit 300 club today. After a while, it feels good. Strategy works, and we're gonna keep on using it. So, the sweatshop, man, we are coming up with it, man. This is some awesome stuff that's been going on. Really, really good to see cats get to the money, and that's what it's all about, man. That's what this whole thing is all about. We got strategy, we got stuff that we come up with, and we share it in the group, man. This is what the sweatshop is all about. It's an altruistic movement, a bunch of regular guys that love sports, that love DFS, want to see it honest, want to see it honest. We don't share lineups in the group. As a matter of fact, you can't even post a lineup without a breakdown on why you like the guys that you like. Like, we have a strict policy on that. So you're always getting information. These are the same guys we're going to be rolling into baseball season with. So, man, if you're looking for a DFS home, a place to call your family, a group of guys that just want to see you win and help you any way they can, that is why you should come over and check us out at the DFS Sweatshop. You can go to the website at www.dfssweatshop.com. And big shout out to D Lins too, man. The homie took down first place the other night, and very solid showing for him, man. I'm proud of you, man. I'm glad you were able to go ahead and take that down, man. Awesome showing for you. And now let's go ahead, man, and jump into some quick player pricing. We've got a monster 10-game slate coming up tonight, and it's really good for us to go ahead and jump right in, see what we can come up with as I build my complete player pool during the show. That's what I do. I use this show to build my player pool. As we talk about, guys, I had a little bit of a look already at it as I was over on Gundacker's show, and we chopped it up there. But now I'm going to go ahead and make my complete player pool. We're going to jump right into that. Let's go ahead and check it out here. Now, first thing I want to do, just a little quick slate recognition, man. I want you to know where you're at and what you're going to be up against. Check this out. Now, at 7 o'clock, we've got a 10-game slate, complete 10-game slate. We've got a 3-game turbo starting at 7:30. We've got a 2-game turbo at 8, a 3-game late at 9:30, and a 2-game later at 10:30. Now, this is not the build that I really like, these turbos and smaller slates when it comes to a 10-game slate, because if there was like a nice 4 or 5-game turbo, that would be prime real estate for me to make some lineups and throw them bitches in the main. But we're going to investigate which games these are, the 7:30 turbo as well as that 3-game late, because those games could be juicy enough to where everyone in the 10-game, the main slate, rosters so far across the board that they don't get that condensed look that we like to see when we check out those turbos, make lineups there, and then throw the bitches in the main. So let's go ahead and jump into some player pricing as we go through the point totals and break them down game by game. Now, the first game we're going to talk about is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder going to Orlando to take on the Magic. This, as it stands right now, is a 217.5 point total, with the Orlando Magic having an implied team total of 106 on the Oklahoma City side. They are giving up 5.5 points. The implied team total for them is 111.5. Automatically, you can pencil in Russell Westbrook to see high ownership tomorrow. Anytime this dude is on the slate, you can definitely bet your last dollar that a lot of folks are going to want to get next to him, man. And I don't have an issue with that. When we just look at the matchup at 19K, 19 DVP against that point guard position. This dude is a physical freak. Match up against Elfrid Payton. They do limit the point guard spots in some ways, or they're supposed to, but the last time out, Russell Westbrook had 80-something DraftKings points on him, so I don't think that he can be ignored, and I don't think he will be in the least. Now, me, the way I usually go about rostering a guy like Russell Westbrook is, I say, well, hey, he's an all-out fade. This slate is going to have to prove to me that I need him. Very rarely am I just on Russell Westbrook immediately. I usually, him and Harden sometimes, I use those guys as, well, the events of the day has to convince me to pay up for Russell Westbrook. So I could be convinced based on the value that may or may not open up throughout the day. Vic Oladipo is a player that I do like, whether I play Russell Westbrook or not. I think he's in a very solid spot. 26 ranked DVP, 6K is the salary on him. I've got him in a very solid spot, matched up against Evan Fournier. I'm not afraid of that defense at all. If you want to get really cute with this game and do some stacking, man, you might want to check out Taj Gibson. Orlando gives it up to the power forward position. The guy that they've got playing that spot right now is Aaron Gordon. He's by no means a top flight defender. So I do think you can look to Taj Gibson, even though the minutes have been, kind of down for him lately. I think he can see a fair amount in a game like this. So I'm all about of a couple of the guys on the Oklahoma City Thunder side. I think Enes Kanter at 5.1 definitely deserves consideration there. I think this could be a two-center slate. Just looking from right now, this could be a two-center slate. We just roll two of them out there because there's so much value at that center spot, and it's in tiers, man. Like you've got 5K centers that you like. You've got guys around 7K that you can definitely use. You've got those higher dollar 8K or better centers. So I think a lot of them are going to be a good spot. So not a problem at all with a few of those Oklahoma City guys. On the Orlando side, Vooch at 7.7 is very interesting. The only thing is, man, we have seen limitations put on centers by the Oklahoma City front court. So, Vucevic, not the most physical of center options on the slate. The team really isn't playing for much. I think Elfrid Payton could be a solid player at 7.3. We know that you can definitely score the ball as a point guard against Russell Westbrook. He's not attempting to change defensive records. He just wants to get those triple doubles. So Elfrid Payton is a guy that you could look to, merely a tournament play. I would not rock him in any of my cash games. I don't like too much else on the Orlando side. It's a 10-game slate, a lot to like. I don't think we have to go too far into this game to find a couple of the guys that we do like. Next game we're talking about is the Atlanta Hawks going to Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. Now, both teams are coming off of that back-to-back. Philadelphia barely had a team to roll out. Now, the point total on this is a 207.5 point total, with the Atlanta Hawks only giving up 1 point. So that would make Philadelphia 76ers a home dog. You know how I feel about the home dogs. I stacked these guys last night, and it worked pretty well. I mean, we knew that we weren't going to be seeing Sergio Rodriguez, as he still remains out. Then once the Jahlil Okafor news broke, as well as the Gerald Henderson news, I mean, you're looking at 8 men that they have to dress. So everybody had to get a ton of minutes. I had my fair share of Robert Covington, who I definitely don't mind today. Had some Dario Saric, who I kind of like from him in that matchup he's in against Ersan Ilyasova. Also, I had a lot of TJ McConnell, who you can definitely play against the Atlanta perimeter. And those are some guys that I still like. I still like those guys. Now, I'm not too locked in on TLC because we know we should be getting Gerald Henderson back, so I won't have to go there. Sauce kind of tapers off for me a little bit, as does Justin Anderson. So the 3 guys that I do like are going to be McConnell, Covington, and Saric on the Philadelphia side. On the Atlanta side, theoretically, Dwight Howard is a must-play, theoretically, because we love to roster the center position against the Philadelphia 76ers. But, man, this dude just not being as involved in the offense as I feel like he should be, especially without Paul Millsap. We're looking over the last 4 games, 44, 42, 36, and 43, all solid, especially when he was under 6K. But now that he's priced up, under 7K, but now that he's priced up to 7.6, I mean, we're gonna need, almost 50 points. At least 45 in order to feel that we were justified in playing 7.6K, especially on a 10-game slate where I think you're going to see a pretty high scoring night. So not too sold on Dwight Howard. Dennis Schroeder down 100 points, but going up against the Philadelphia 76ers, I think you can definitely look to him in some spots. I don't have an issue with him. Not a fan of Ersan Ilyasova on a day like today. Tim Hardaway Jr., man, that dude is streaky as fuck, man. And at 6.5K, I was hoping the price would have went down on him just a touch, because if he's gonna be seeing some Gerald Henderson defense, which is he's a fairly decent defender, I don't think I can get up to that 6.5. There's gonna be no Taurean Prince for me at all. Maybe on FanDuel where he is still very cheap, but at 5.1K, and you can tell that DraftKings, the algorithm is set in some way to where if ownership is increased, man, the price continues to be high, and that's the case tonight for Taurean Prince, which is why he's not going to make it in any of my lineups, especially since we're going to see Kent Bazemore back. Now, I'll take a shot at Baze at 4K. If Baze is starting, they're going to be seeing minutes. The fact that Thabo Sefolosha hadn't been playing the last few games kind of gives me, a reason to want to roster Kent Bazemore. So I do like the spot that he is in, fairly cheap. I don't have an issue with that at 4K. Next game I'm going to be talking about is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks going to Boston to take on the Celtics. This is a 208.5 point total, with the Boston Celtics giving up 8 points in this game. Now they have an implied point total of 108. That's very solid, and that kind of tells me that I don't have to just roster the higher salary guys in this game. I don't have to say, oh man, this point total is 108, it's over 100, so give me some Isaiah Thomas. No, because the DVP isn't that good. And, point guards have been limiting uh, the Milwaukee Bucks have been limiting the point guard position. So I don't think I can get up to Isaiah at 8K. That's not for me. I don't like that. I would much rather take a shot on a guy like Avery Bradley at 5.7. Anytime you can get him at 6K, I think you've got a bargain there. Maybe some Jay Crowder at 6.2. I like the price there. And Al Horford has been playing out of his mind lately. And I don't have a problem, targeting that Milwaukee front court, especially since this is a guy that likes to get out in transition, get the long rebound, start the break. I like the spot that he's in. 35, 41, 38, and 40, 52 over the last 5 games. Very solid point totals there. The minutes are there for him. He hasn't seen less than 30 minutes since the 17th of March. So I like the spot that he's in. Definitely, we can rock with some Al Horford on tonight. I'm going to have him as a part of my initial player pool. On the Milwaukee side, man, what do y'all think about Giannis, bro? Nobody's going to want to play Giannis. He's still priced under 10K in a very solid DVP matchup. Chris Middleton's probably going to be playing again. And I like Giannis more when Chris Middleton is on the court. Because, when it's just him, teams clamp down on him. They really do. And I hope that that's not going to be an issue. I hope we do see Chris Middleton as well as Malcolm Brogdon, because he's in a solid spot too. We know that the Isaiah Thomas led defense of the Boston Celtics give it up to point guards. So, I like Brogdon. I like Giannis at 9.7. Brogdon is 5.1. Any injury news that we have associated with this game, we got Michael Beasley, John Henson are probably going to be out there, and Jonas Jerebko is a game time decision for the Boston Celtics. Those are a few guys that I do like. And we also can, since we can, attack the Boston Celtics rebounding the basketball, that makes me like Giannis even more. Man, I can see a very solid double-double, possibly a triple-double for him on tonight. So I do like him a lot. Next game to talk about is my New York Knicks at the crib, defending MSG against the Miami Heat. This is a 209 point total with the Miami Heat giving up 2.5 points, giving up 3 points to the New York Knicks. This game, it's 106 is the implied point total for the Miami Heat. And Hassan Whiteside, yes. I mean, what can he do against the Knicks but destroy? I like him. Goran Dragic at 7.5 is a little bit to get up to. I think that's going to separate you in tournaments. A lot of people are not going to be on him because he's 7.5, and there is some point guard value to be opening up or is already open. The point total is not too high. It's not high enough to where I think that the starters or Goran Dragic and Hassan Whiteside are going to be gravely affected by the point total. But I do think James Johnson can come off of the bench in a 30-minute role and really wreck shop with 6.6 K as a salary on him. I don't have an issue there. I even like Tyler Johnson some at 5.9. As far as my New York Knicks go, this is the most frustrating team because we don't know what the coaching staff is going to do. They said they were going to rest them last week. These guys are playing 30 to 40 minutes per game. We don't know what we're going to get. Hopefully somewhere close to lock, before lock. It's a 7:30 game. Hopefully somewhere before 7 o'clock lock, we'll get some very solid, definitive news on if we're going to see any rest or any of those concerns from Carmelo Anthony or Derrick Rose. If all of them play, Anthony is still in play. He's only 6.7K. He was 6.5, but the ownership was so low on him that it didn't even move the price. So if we're going to see a full run of Carmelo in a 20th ranked DVP against small forwards, I love him tonight. I think Kristaps deserves consideration as well. Courtney Lee is a no for me, and I don't like to roster point guards against the Miami Heat, so I won't have to worry about Derrick Rose even if he does play. If Melo is out, because Munchkis is definitely a play that you can look forward to. I like the spot that he is in. So this could be a very interesting game, man. If it shakes out where we may see some rest or injury, it could definitely open up some value that will unlock the Russell Westbrook for you. Next game we're talking about is the Charlotte Hornets going to Toronto to take on the Raptors. The Hornets are on that back-to-back. This is a 206 point total. This is a 206 point total with a 7-point spread in favor of the Toronto Raptors. So they are going to be the home favorite. Charlotte Hornets coming off a bad game But there's a couple of guys in this game that I do like, and I love the Charlotte Hornets off of a loss because those guys play with determination and dignity. I wish this game was in Charlotte. I would feel so much better about the guys that I do like. I love Kemba in this spot. Anytime you get Kemba under 8K, man, he's playable, bro. 7.8, I like that. I love that spot for Kemba. Even though he is away from the Beehive, man, I still think it's a very solid play there. I do like Nicholas Batum at 6.9. We can target the Toronto Raptors at that shooting guard position, as you know, DeMar DeRozan focuses more on scoring. He's not a defensive stopper at all. Not too much else I like on the Charlotte Hornets side. I think I could hit Frank Kaminsky up at 5.1. That's a very solid price for him. I think he can be that bridge again between the first and second team. I do like him. On the Toronto side, Jonas Valanciunas jumps off of the page for me at 4.9K. The price still not has moved much because he's not being owned from slate to slate. Think he can get a very solid 25 to maybe 30 minutes in this game. If he does that, I can see a double-double easily for him. Easily. Not too big on Serge Ibaka in this spot. Not a player that I particularly like. I would much rather just go with DeMar DeRozan at 8.7. The price hasn't moved up much on him. This team is still playing for playoff position, and Charlotte is still a long shot to make the playoffs. So this game means something to both teams. They've got a lot invested in it. I think it's going to be a very solid game. Next game we're talking about is the Indiana Pacers going to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. This is there's no point total yet for this game. No point total or spread yet for this game. There is some injury concerns that we do have on the Memphis Grizzlies side. We're talking about Marc Gasol's game time decision. He sat out last game. If he is out, definitely give me some Zebo. What it is, man, I just love to roster. Got some of the research we've done in the shop, man, tells us that Indiana Pacers have given up us a ton of perfect lineup spots. So it kind of doesn't matter who the center is, as long as they're decent and they're mobile and they can play fairly well. I think they can have a very good shot at making value against the Indiana Pacers. Now, Miles Turner is just a defensive liability at the center position. So if Gasol plays and we know he's going to be good, I like him. If he doesn't play, if we're going to see Zach Randolph, I like him. Mike Conley is on my radar no matter who plays. I think we can look to Tony Allen in some spots. He's going to be tasked with seeing Paul George defensively, which should keep him on the floor a ton. I doubt they're going to put Vince Carter on Paul George. That would be a murder. That would be a murder. On the Pacers side, I do think Paul George is definitely in play. The implied team total hasn't come out yet for this game, but I definitely think that Paul George is in play at 8.2. The price dropped down 200. He was very low owned yesterday. I think that does change. A lot of people are going to see this dude has been balling out. No issue with rostering him. I think Jeff Teague is a solid play. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not afraid of, Mike Conley defense. It's just that being at the grindhouse, man, they play such a strong team style defense that is very hard for me to get up and roster Jeff Teague at 6.7. Even though he gets the grindhouse discount, he's not a play that I particularly like. Not a play I particularly like. No. So the only place I would go if I had to in this game would be on the Indiana side would be Paul George. We talked about the Grizzlies, Conley, Tony Allen, Marc Gasol if he plays, and Zach Randolph if Marc Gasol is out. Next game we're going to talk about is the Dallas Mavericks going to New Orleans to take on the Pelicans. There is not yet a point total or spread yet for this game as well. That's due to some injury concerns that we do have. Let's go ahead and go through those, man. Seth Curry, Lil Bro is a game time decision. DeMarcus Cousins on the New Orleans Pelicans side is a game time decision, as well as Omar Asik being out. So, real quick look, man. Kind of hope Seth Curry doesn't play, because that means I can roster some cheap Yogi or some cheap JJ Barrera and possibly pay up for my Westbrook. All of these guys in this game are cheap. Harrison Barnes at 6K, Nerlens at 5.6. You've got Dirk at 5.9, Wesley Matthews 5.2. All of these guys are cheap, and that could make for some very solid salary saving if you're trying to create one of those balanced lineups. So I think Harrison Barnes is in a spot where we could use him definitely. Matched up against Solomon Hill, I think that is a winnable matchup. Nerlens kind of interests me at 18 frank DVP. He really does interest me if we don't see Boogie, because if he's gonna be matched up, with Anthony Davis a lot, I don't have an issue there because who's going to guard, Dirk? Like this could be a very sneaky game, man, because matchups are going to force this game to go many different directions. It really could, because we could see, Alexis Ajinça get the start in order to cover Nerlens Noel, and then see Dirk matched up with Anthony Davis. There's many different combinations that we could see for the New Orleans Pelicans as they attempt to match up with the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony Davis, of course, 10.8 is very pricey. He's priced up, so there's no more discount. The boogie discount is not there anymore. Like he's being priced up like he's the only player that's playing, and that kind of shifts some of my focus to Boogie if we do see him. The matchup is really good for him. He's at 9.6K. If we do see him, I might like him. I think I like Drew Holiday as well at 7K. That's a fair price for him. Wish it was under that, but 22nd ranked DVP against that point guard spot. Going to be matched up possibly against Yogi Ferrell. I wouldn't have an issue with him there. If Seth Curry is a much better defender than Yogi is, so it would give me pause if we see Seth Curry. But if no Curry, I definitely like Drew Holiday even more. Next game we're going to talk about is going to be the Golden State Warriors at the San Antonio Spurs. I don't think this game is going to do what the Cleveland game did to us the other day. I don't think this game's going to let us down. Nationally televised game, big time playoff implications involved. Golden State is still wanting to climb up that ladder and be that #1 team in the West. San Antonio, they have the same aspirations, so I can see this game being a very good one. It's a 208.5 point total. Should be 209 here point total, with the San Antonio Spurs giving up 4.5 points at home. It's 106.5 is the implied team total. I kind of like that. It means that I can not only roster Kawhi Leonard, but I can look to guys like LaMarcus Aldridge, maybe some Danny Green, maybe even hit the San Antonio bench for Paul Gasol at 5.1. So those are a few targets that I have, early on in my builds. I like a few of those guys automatically. On the Golden State side, take a look at how cheap Steph Curry is, man. Coming off damn near a 60-point game, he's priced down 8.8. That is that scary. I don't like to play people against San Antonio bump or discount that you get. But man, you can score, man. At the point guard spot, you can score against San Antonio. I do not have an issue with them at all. I do like Draymond Green. I think it's going to be a really nice battle. Draymond matched up with LaMarcus Aldridge. I think both of those guys can have very solid games. I think Andre Iguodala has been playing very well off of the bench lately at 4.5K. He's a player that we definitely can look to. So there's a lot to like about this game, and it's going to show in lineups tomorrow. You're going to see a lot of exposure to this Golden State and San Antonio game when you apply the point total to the actual spread, man. It's not a big spread at all. Next game we're talking about is the LA Clippers giving up 5 points at home against the Washington Wizards. This is a 219.5 point total. And, automatically, a couple of plays just jump out to me, man. Number one is going to be Blake Griffin, priced down to 7.9. I know he's been playing around the perimeter a lot, shooting those long range 3-point shots, but I think this is a get right game for him, man, against the Washington Wizards. Don't we like to attack Markieff Morris at that power forward spot? Isn't he one of the worst power forward defenders in the league? And I think Blake Griffin can definitely take advantage of that. I like DeAndre Jordan, so when I like these guys that much, when I like Blake and DeAndre, that automatically makes me take a look at Chris Paul, because the bulk of these guys scoring are going to come off of assists, especially DeAndre Jordan. Most of those assists, in my opinion, are going to come from Chris Paul's way. Now, if we don't see JJ Redick tomorrow, he's a game time decision. You can look to Austin Rivers. He's probably going to get the start at the 3. I've got no issue there. But Jamal Crawford is a player that I really like at 3.9. And what I'm probably going to do, if I've got my roster bills intact and I'm like, damn, I need $100 more, and I got Crawford in the lineup. Well, I don't have a problem shifting down. I got Rivers in the lineup. I don't have a problem shifting down and then putting Crawford in. I'll feel the same. Or if I already built my lineup and I've got 100 left, 100 more, and I've got Jamal Crawford, I'm automatically going up to Austin Rivers. Dude played like 40+ minutes in his last time out, and I think that's what could be in line for him again if we don't see JJ Redick. John Wall, just coming off second game off a back-to-back. 10.2 is the price point, dropped 500. Going to be seeing Chris Paul, and this is the perfect storm to roster a cat like John Wall, a dude that has that 60 some odd point upside, because he's a guy that can play well like in streaks, multiple games. He can play very well. But the fact that people are gonna see, that middle of the pack DVP, Chris Paul on the other side as a defender, I think it's gonna take people off of John Wall. And I think we see him at very low ownership tonight. I do like him. I'm not a fan of Bradley Beal. Otto Porter at 6.1. Nobody's gonna want to roster him. I don't want to, but the matchup just looks very sweet. This is a Lukman Bamute matchup, and I like it because I don't see Markieff Morris getting off too tough, but I do think that we can see a solid wing perimeter game from Otto Porter. Plus, he's going to be called on. He's not going to spend a lot of energy defending because Bamute is not even a part of the offense, so he's going to be able to roam, get back in transition, make plays. I like Otto Porter. He's one of my favorite small forward plays there. I do like him. Bojan and Ian Mahimi could be seeing limited minutes. The last game out last night, they both saw limited minutes. So maybe that means we can see a little bit more Mahimi and a little bit less Gortat. I'm going to highlight that just for that simple fact. We know that they have been, kind of trading roles over the last few games. So we saw, 30 minutes for Mahimi the other night, 14 for Gortat, then it flipped. And so we can definitely check that out. Next game and the last game on tonight's slate is going to be the Utah Jazz going to Sacramento to take on the Kings. Let me tell you right now, the Kings are one of the hardest fucking teams to roster night in and night out, man. It is so hard, to roster these cats with complete confidence, man, because you never know exactly what you're gonna get. You never know exactly what you're gonna get. So taking a look, man, just taking a quick look. There are a few guys that I do like. Now, automatically, Rudy Gobert jumps off of the page, 26th ranked DVP, priced at 8.6K. That's a very fair price for a guy that is playing out of his mind. Some of the best defensive slash center basketball that you're going to see this year, you've seen from Rudy Gobert. Now, if we don't see Gordon Hayward, I think that gives him a bump. I like him a little bit more in that spot. But even if Gordon Hayward plays, I still think we can, look at Rudy as a late night hammer. Rodney Hood at 4.6 is a play that I still like. If you look at it, he's priced lower than Joe Johnson as well as Joe Ingles. I think that, Rodney Hood could be a very good salary saving option for you. Boris Diaw at 3K, not a play that I'm particularly interested in. And I don't like Ingles and Joe Johnson. I'm just not going to pay up that much for those cats. I'm just not, especially if we see Gordon Hayward. There's no way I'm going to pay for those cats. I'm not paying 5K for Joe Ingles. On the Sacramento side, the only two guys that we know we can count on to play and in some respects to play well are going to be Willie Cauley-Stein and Buddy Hield. Those are two guys that I like. Now, Collison at 4.6K, if he does play, and we know that early enough in the day, I think he's definitely a solid play at 4.6. I'm not afraid of George Hill defense, who I do like offensively on the Utah side. I forgot to mention that. So Rudy Gobert, George Hill, Rodney Hood are plays that I do like for Utah. And we've got Willie Cauley-Stein, Buddy Hield, and Darren Collison are plays that I do like in the last game on the slate, going to Sacramento to take on the Kings. This has been your DFS Jerusalem. Thank you so very much for all the support, all the help, all the love y'all have been showing me, man. I will see you all tomorrow live in the midday mix at about 3:30. Hopefully, I can open up the doors of the Facebook VIP. I can open those doors up and allow the guys on YouTube to come in and check us out, as well as through Periscope on Twitter. We did that today, man. It was a very nice show. Got some solid messages across. Has really good nights. So I'm very happy. Thank you so much for being here in the DFS Sweatshop. There are many ways to support the show. You're doing it in its purest form right now by giving me that voice on YouTube. Thank you so much. But if you want to support the show further, there's a box over there. It says support the show. Go ahead and click that box. Also, you can patronize my personal PayPal at simmonsmaurice95@yahoo.com, or you can become a full-fledged DFS Sweatshop member by going to the website at www.dfssweatshop.com. That is where you will receive all of our tips and tricks and tutelage to make you a profitable daily fantasy sports player. Remember, baseball is 6 days away. I'm so excited, man. Opening day is very close. We are chomping at the bit. We're already chopping it up in the DFS Sweatshop. There are going to be a couple of baseball videos coming out soon. So thank you so much for everything, man. I appreciate you. The number one thing that I want you to do when you're in the sweatshop all the time is keep it 300.